All right, so for this video, we're going to look at age structure diagrams, which are also called age histograms. We're also going to look at demographic transition. So with an age histogram, which is right in front of us, what we're going to look at is what it really tells us, and also look at what happens as a country becomes more developed, right? So what we want to look at is we have age, and we have male and female on the left and right-hand side, right? We can also look over here. We have post-reproductive, reproductive ages, pre-reproductive ages, right? So what we want to look at is what do these shapes really tell us, right? Now, if a population is increasing very rapidly, that means that they're having a lot of children. Simultaneously, they're getting better medicine, they're getting better food sources, their economy is going well. So what we're really looking at here for a population that's increasing rapidly is that everyone that's in their pre-reproductive ages are going to survive and make it into their reproductive ages, okay? So if it's a steep, if it's a broad-shaped triangle, if it's a broad-shaped triangle with a wide base, that tells you that it's going to be increasing rapidly, if not now, very, very soon. Then what happens is we start increasing slowly, which means that the reproductive ages are starting to line up with those that are being born. So in the first one to all the way to the left, we're looking at a total fertility rate of maybe 5. And then as they start to transition, more are starting to survive. So there are more of them are becoming reproductively successful later in life and have the ability to reproduce. So then they're going to start having a little bit less children. So it's going to start to become a much steeper triangle. So the top starts to match the bottom. Number 3 is stable. We usually consider this to be more like a rectangle, meaning that all the way up to part of the post-reproductive age group is stable with reproductive, with pre-reproductive. This would be a TFR around 2, meaning replacement, right? And then lastly, you have a decreasing population, which looks like kind of an upside down triangle to some extent. And that is because, or you can kind of call it like an oval to some extent. And that's because there's not a lot of children being born down here because you don't have enough people in the reproductive age group, right? So whatever happened, people stopped having children, people moved out. And now, like Japan, you have this huge amount of older individuals that can't reproduce, okay? So we look at, let's say, TFR numbers. Let's say this would be like 5. This might be a TFR of 3. This might be a 2. And then this would be less than 2 for sure. Okay, please excuse the handwriting. So that's what we're looking at with age histograms and what they really tell us as to what's going on now and what the future might look like, okay? Then we look at demographic transition, and all countries go through this, right? We've gone through this already. We are industrialized, and our birth rate and death rate is equal right now in the United States, and a lot of countries are. Some are actually decreasing population, and that can be actually a 5th stage. But let's take a country that is not developed yet, right? Completely pre-industrial. So their birth rates and birth and death rates are very, very high, right? So their TFR is up over 5, and a lot of their children are dying very early and before they can have children. Now what happens is better medicine, better sanitation, everything we've kind of talked about in class, that starts to move into the area. Now notice what drops first. The death rate drops first in stage 2 because people are going to continue to have children until they know, or they can be, it is proven that all of their children are going to live to adulthood. So let's say we have one generation where we have medicine and better food and sanitation coming in, and you have 5 children or 6 children. Now all of them survive to adulthood, right? Now they go to have children when they become reproductively mature. Now through education and all this stuff, now the birth rate is going to start to drop down. Okay, it may not be 1 generation, it may be 2, whatever it may be. But notice in stage 2, the death rate drops first. And then right at the start of stage 3 is where we start to see the birth rate start to drop. So death rate will always drop first because people are going to continue to have children until they know that all of their children are living until they're older. Okay. Stage 3 is when they are now industrialized, meaning that they have, their economy is booming. They have agriculture that's running very well. They have machinery that's in that area. You have a lot of business that's going on. So now they are industrialized. Stage 2 is called the transitional stage, where we're starting to see death rate fall. And then you get to stage 4, where your birth rate and your death rate are at extremely low levels, meaning that you're going to have almost no growth in total, right? You're going to hit a stable population, right? You won't really have much of a growth of the overall population, okay? And that would be your post-industrial stage, and that's where we're at, okay? And you see the little wiggling of the birth rate, right? You'll have some times where you have some more children, and then sometimes you don't. That can fluctuate, doesn't have to. So you have stage 1, high birth, high death. Stage 2, transitional, low death, or death rate is dropping, birth rate stays high. Stage 3 is where your death rate is low and your birth rate is now dropping. And stage 4, you're post-industrialized, so now everything becomes stable and the population doesn't grow. Here's one more look at it and why demographic transition happens. Follow the blue line as you move through this, right? Stage 1, high birth, high death. Population is not really moving that much. It might be increasing a little bit. Now we start to drop our death rate. So notice what happens with our overall population. Less people are dying, still a lot of births. So the population is going to go up. And not until, let's say, the middle of stage 3, do you see that birth rate really starting to drop down. So that means we always have this carryover effect, right? People were born, so they're going to live. The people are living longer in the country, so they're going to still be alive. So your population will continue to grow until you get into that stage 4, and it should level off. Now, this is showing a stage 5, which is something like Italy and Japan are going through, where they didn't have enough children years in the previous 30, 40 years. So they're starting to see less births, and you can actually see a declining population. Stage 5 is not always seen in demographic transition. It's sometimes not seen on charts, but if you do see it, that will be the case. So you can see, if you follow the blue line again, as we go through this video, or this these stages, sorry, you can see that stage 1, not much growth. Stage 2, you start to see growth because your death rate is dropping significantly. Stage 3, your death rate will then start to drop down. And then stage 4, we should see a leveling off because we're industrialized and both the birth and death rates are very, very low. Okay, hopefully you understand that. I'm also going to link a great video to watch on everything we've been talking about, and talks about demographic transition as well. So hopefully you watch that.